I think it's the last time we can use it. Bit of soul bossa nova announcing fundamentally one of my favourite parts of the show. Normally it's a Friday because the show's called Free Speech Friday, but it is Easter weekend, so it is Free Speech Thursday. And joining us, two people, one of whom's been in the news, one of whom used to be and hasn't been so much lately. And I'm going to introduce him first, Matthew Tukaki. And Matthew, you've had a year recovering from some real health challenges that took you pretty close to checking out, but you're back in the land of the living well and truly now, mate.
Well, Sean, as I tell people, no one consulted me on my pending doom, so there was no way I was going to check out too early and give other people the satisfaction of my death.
All right, nice to have you back in the land of the living, Matt.
Love the welcome music, by the way.
Yeah.
I feel like a 70s porn star.
Yeah, my problem is that Tova O'Brien's going to ring up and complain about the copyright, and I can't afford it, so that may be the last time we use it. Our other guest, and I thought we'd balance it out with a woman, though I've realised I got the ethnic balance of this entire panel wrong. If I was at Auckland University, I don't know, I'd have to get kicked out because it wouldn't be a safe space. Hana Tamaki joins us, wife, of course, of Brian Tamaki, and mover and shaker in politics in the Destiny Church. Hana, how are you?
I'm great, Sean. And hi, Matt. How you going?
Great, Hannah. And can I just correct you, Sean? Hannah is not the wife of Brian Tamaki. Brian Tamaki is the husband of Hannah.
Exactly, and make sure you guys get it right.
All right, where to start? Because it's been a bloody crazy week in all sorts of ways. And I'm just trying to look at the list of things we've got. Let's start with the Auckland University sign. Pacifica and Māori only. And gosh, people are losing their lunch about this up and down the country, including the university that's taken the sign down. Hana, what's your take on it? Were you outraged?
Well, I just think it's appalling, really, because how many pure-blooded Māori have we got? So what part of them staying out the door if they've got European in them? But I just think to put that stuff up in this day and age, when we're supposed to be a one nation, people binding together, working together, studying together, learning together, how could they do that? So I hope whoever put that sign up, created that sign, has been reprimanded and made to give an apology to, the whole Candace, actually.
All right. And you don't think there's any point in it, having a safe space for certain groups?
Well, hang on a moment. Safe space? What do you mean safe space? If you're at an educational facility, you should all be safe anyway. It shouldn't just be to specific groups of people. So to me, that's just a line that people are throwing out there for the sake of covering up.
Yeah, but the truth is, Hannah, the philosophy behind this, and I'm sure you'd agree, Matt, is that Māori and Pacifica people need to be insulated or protected from the terrible white post-colonial people that are still oppressing them, Matt.
Oh, I think we're getting a little bit too precious. This is not the most important pressing issue of the day or the year or the decade or the century. And to be honest, these spaces, whether they be for women, whether they be for Māori or Pacifica or Chinese people or whomever, have existed at this university for decades, absolute decades. So I think we're just getting a little bit of precious.
But why have they existed? Surely we should question why. Well, I can understand men's and women's toilets. But the very people who are into spaces like that probably aren't into men's and women's toilets, man.
Well, maybe not. But I mean, we've got spaces that have existed for people to have meetings and have catch-ups and conversations of different types for many, many decades. Like I said, though, Sean and Hannah, I just don't think this is the biggest issue of the century. It's been blown out of all proportion. And the days of tarring and feathering people just because we don't agree with them, they're well and truly also over. Now, if these people, whether they be Māori or Pacifica or Handamana Chinaman or Chinese or women or whoever, or greyhound races want to meet and talk about the hot pressing issues about the day for them, then kapai, not a problem at all. I'm more worried about kids' education right now. I'm more worried about...
All right, well, let's move on. What a brilliant segue that is. Let's move on to kids' story time. In public libraries and kids being read to by blokes dressed up as parodies of women, Matt.
Well, I think, again, I'm going to say the same thing I said before. I just don't think this is the biggest pressing issue of the day for the majority of New Zealanders. Now, I get that people see this as a challenge for them, but to be frank, people who are LGBTIQ may dress as drag queens.
Matt, can I just say, I don't think you can be all of those at one time. You've got to pick a letter and stick with it.
I think I might have missed a few letters in fairness, but, to be frank, these people are also our doctors and nurses, people giving me cancer treatment, for example. I'm more than happy if somebody wants to come along and put a needle in me, or if my house is burning down, I don't care what they're dressed in to come and put my fire out. And to be frank, there are people in this country and around the world that I would prefer not to be reading to children, and they don't dress as drag queens, sadly. They dress
So you do not see drag queenism as something primarily as an adult entertainment and adult kink, otherwise known as fetish, Matt?
No, I've been to drag bingo. I've won at drag bingo. I won a meat raffle at drag bingo once, Sean, and that was a fundraiser.
What's drag bingo?
Drag bingo is where they dress up in drag and they run the machine, and it's like bingo at the housing club. And I won a meat raffle, and I see that as irony.
Okay, how many kids were at? How many, kids were at the pub that night, Matt?
Well, it wasn't at the pub. It was at an RSA hall, and I dare say there were a lot of walkers in the room. I just think there are much bigger issues in the world than this. It really is. I mean, if people want to go
Hannah. Hannah's sat there.
Matt,
yep.
Thank you, Hannah. Sorry, Hannah.
Hang on, Matt doesn't have children. He doesn't have grandchildren. He doesn't have great-grandchildren. He doesn't have a whole lot of other children around his life that, like me and many other parents. Now, on your talkback yesterday, Sean, you had hundreds of callers, and some of them were same-sex couples, and they totally did not agree with drag queens reading to children in libraries. So let's just put that on the table. This is not about the whole LGBTQ community. This is about one little sector of society. And I think I even asked the question, how many dads took their children along or take their children along to actually show their children that it's okay for daddy to dress up? Look, dress up the way you want to. We do not care. But in a public place where it's taxpayers' money offered to drag queens and a girl dressed in, I don't know what she called it, just drag, obviously. But, for us, it's about the way that the agenda is being pushed through. It's looking at...
Well, what we did learn yesterday was this started not with the drag queens volunteering, but them being approached.
Yeah, and offered. And didn't the girl say that she wrote a curriculum, and she's not even a trained teacher, she's a dance teacher?
Yeah,
so
she
how
did.
Come a curriculum can be written and then they take that as a qualification to actually read to children in the library? So remember this, I've got Matt, you will know, Rabina's been at a few events that we've both been at, and Rabina is very comfortable with me, so it's not about hate. When people say we're hating, no, we don't. I've got gay family, I've got drag friends, so that's just out of the question, but it's about the children. So many.
Can I just say, Sean and Hannah, I think Hannah raises one of the most fundamental points of all for me, irrespective of the drag queen in the library reading the stories to kids or whoever. They could be reading in an old age home for all I care. I would love to see more dads and more mums going to libraries with their kids and encouraging them to read books. The problem that we've got, of course, is that libraries.
And I don't think, to be honest, Matt, I don't think having drag queens in there actually encourages that. In fact, I think for most mainstream New Zealanders, Matt, someone sent me a text, and I'm going to stick this question on you. How do you feel about blackface? Because you clearly don't mind woman face.
Well, you're right. You put on. I hadn't really thought about blackface. I just think, like most things, I think times have moved on. Is blackface appropriate today? No, I don't think it is. There is that, I can't remember what it is, some festival or whatever it is down south somewhere, where people use blackface. I mean, mind you, back in the day, I had a gollywog. And I loved my gollywog, but is a gollywog a thing today? I don't know. But I just think times move on and we change.
I think we've got to be tolerant of blackface, don't we? If we're going to be tolerant of drag queens reading kids' stories.
I wouldn't be tolerant of blackface. I mean, I think that's a bit of a stretch, my friend. That's a bit of a stretch between going.
Do you think it's a stretch, Hannah?
Well, you know what, like Matt said, I love gollywogs, and to be honest, I brought probably most of my grandchildren one because they're at a market. You've got a little nanny there, she's made them, and they're cute dolls. It's like a teddy bear. But I think, you know, I've even been to fancy dresses where I've dressed up and done the mama act, and I don't think that, you know, in this day and age, people are more sensitive, and I think people want to bring it up as a racist thing. So, you know, you've got to realise that you don't wear a swastika out publicly in places like that. So I think people just got to be mindful of the crowd that you're with, the people that you're portraying it to, and just have respect for them.
Yeah. And Hannah, I see they've re-rainbowed the level crossing in Gisborne, but someone, and I hope you don't know anyone about who's been involved in this, has painted over, whited out, the rainbow crossing is in Karangahape Road. Do you know, firstly, Anna, do you know anything about that?
No, well, I saw it this morning. I heard Brian going, what the heck? I came out and he said, look what's happened. And we both went, uh-oh, looks like we've got copycat stuff going on. You know, there are people that like, hey, can I just say it's Destiny Church, not Destinies, which all the media keeps saying.
Oh, that's
Destiny
like John
Church.
Keys, isn't it?
Yeah. But the whole thing is, it's like, you know, people might want to get us in trouble, so they're going to do copycat crimes. I don't know. But
I think it's going to become a thing. I think this is going to become a thing. I'm just waiting for the one on
an interview.
Yeah.
I heard Brian on the interview, and this girl was actually trying to giving him the third degree, trying to make him say he was there. And he did it. He said, I had no part of it. I've seen it as much as the nation. But isn't it funny how the presenters were manifesting like anything over the assumption that it had something to do with Destiny Church? So, you know, people stop. Hey, if you've got a conviction, talk about your conviction openly, but don't go doing copycat stuff then blame Brian.
And Matt Tukaki, of course, vandalising things as Te Papa's showing us is fine, isn't it? If it's just a political vandalisation.
Here's the thing. Everyone just needs to be respectful. We're not going to learn much from each other if all we're doing is, and I used to be a barking dog, right? I mean, until I got a little bit crook. And I just think everybody just needs to be a little bit more respectful of each other's views and be tolerant towards other people. This is what is going on in this country. We're not being segregated or division or all this other nonsense. What's happening is we're failing to communicate. Now, I mean, my view of the rainbows.
I'm not going to tolerate men dressed as women reading to children. So there's going to be a line in the sand there. But, you know, we've got gay family, I've got friends.
Yeah, that's up to you. It's up to you to do. But you and I can still communicate, and you and I can still discuss and debate and talk, you know. And I would still come to the launch of your next candidacy. But the reality is, I think what we've got to be mindful of and careful of is not go down the deep, dark bunny hole where there's no coming back from something. You know, we're just not that kind of people. Well, I don't think we are anyway. And I'd say that to all people on all sides.
Stop drag queens in libraries reading to children, and stop the ratepayers from paying them, because I think that's appalling. And then I heard that even when it's cancelled, they continue to be paid. Now, did the council actually have a quick meeting to agree to repaint the crossing, which, from what I understand, the NZTA opposed the zebra crossing in Wellington? And so are there minutes to that meeting that said we've got to quickly hurry up and repaint that crossing?
Oh, they just didn't want you lot to win, Hannah.
Yeah, and I also think, to be frank, just on Gisborne, I think Gisborne have got bigger issues to deal with than ratepayers' money being invested in anything right about.
Like a couple of dead people at 21st to kick off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
guys, can we have... This is going incredibly well, my Tangata Whenua edition of Free Speech Fridays on a Thursday.